Disclaimer, this channel assumes you talk to your DM about literally everything. This is a communication game. The game literally doesn't work if you don't talk to each other. Anyways, let's start the video. Illrigger, brand new third-party class approved by Wizards of the Coast. Before we only had Bloodhunter, but that's a terrible class. There's a lot of flavor text to this class. I've never seen so much before. But to quickly sum up the whole thing, this is a Hell Knight that's aligned to evil creatures. In specifically hell. You, the Illrigger, might not be evil, but you serve an archdevil as an elite operative commando. The concept is really strong, and you guys know that I already serve somebody from hell. It's Tiamat. If you play an Illrigger, you better align yourself with her. She's based. Welcome to Pack Tactics, where Arthas did nothing wrong. He was an optimizer that did everything right and still lost anyways. He is the true king of Lordaeron. I'm gonna treat this like a UA because this thing is massive. It's a whole new class with 5 subclasses and 8 new spells. I'm going to cover everything. Now, there's still a ton of math that I need to go through, but I just don't have the time, and some of the math is actually really hard to figure out. This class is a little advanced. Well, not really. I think you'll find out what I mean by that. I feel like it likes to be long-winded for no reason sometimes. And that's actually the fault of the main gameplay loop. You'll see what I mean as we progress through this video. That doesn't mean the class is badly written, it's just that they wanted to cling on to something, which they should have, I feel like they should have just let go. Because it's really not relevant for a very long time. Well, unless you pick a specific subclass, I guess. You'll see what I mean. And also, I think most of you are going to say, oh, that's a pack tactics problem. But let's begin. We're taking forever. But before we begin, we need to get a satanic patron so we can become an Illrigger properly. Luckily for us, this video is sponsored by Fume, where we can get the taste of flavored air. Yummy! This handy little device will help you quit vaping and stuff. A lot of people struggle with going cold turkey, so this is designed to help you quit these nasty habits. The flavored air you're inhaling is extremely weak, but you do taste it. The device has a lot of fidgeting parts for you to play around with too, to keep your hands busy. It's a good way to relieve stress and curb the urge. As for the flavors, there's tons. Fume sent me 12 different ones, and so far Raspberry Lemon is my favorite one. So yeah, I recommend that one the most. So what are you waiting for, kobolds? Over 500,000 people switched over to Fume to change their habit and become an Illrigger. Go to tryfume.com/packtactics or scan the QR code. For a limited time, if you order the Journey Pack and use the code PACKTACTICS, you'll get a free Fume topper with the order. Back to the video. The first thing you might be wondering is this broken? No, it's a Marshall and it's third party and it's playtested by the community. And the D&D community are generally like super afraid of single target damage. Especially on Reddit, it's like ridiculous. So what usually happens with third-party martial classes is they are nerfed to the ground. I just covered Gunslinger a while ago, and you can see it there. Like, that class got nerfed so hard that normal bows and crossbows are stronger than guns on a Gunslinger, which is stupid. But this martial actually does pack an oomph. Like, it's got a proper nova and stuff. But that depends on what you're doing and what you're playing. I went into this thinking it was a half-caster because people relate this to Paladin a lot. But no, this is like a very Diet Coke Paladin / Warlock. There's no way Illrigger's gonna keep up with full casters, but I gotta say, I'm happy they can Nova. That's what I want them to do. They're a main damage dealer. It can eventually become stronger than a half-caster, but it really depends on what you're doing. By the way, if you're using 2024 content, I do recommend asking your DM to homebrew in Weapon Mastery as a feature. It can be similar to Paladins, where you get to pick 2 weapons at level 1. Now, let's begin. Quick build, it uses D10 HP. Strength or Dexterity is your main stat. Charisma is your second. It will be used for features that force saves. They like to call it interdicted save DC. If you pick up the Lies Combat Mastery, then Charisma is your main stat. Combat Mastery and Weapon Mastery are 2 different things, by the way. Other than that, Constitution is also an important stat. Never dump it, obviously. I always make sure to have 14 or higher. As for multiclassing, the ability score minimum is at least a charisma score of 13 and a strength or dexterity score of 13. Rest is automated through D&D Beyond, I don't feel like reading it. Here's the HP and proficiencies. It doesn't get heavy armor, surprisingly. The saving throws are Constitution and Charisma, which is fantastic. Skills, you pick 2 of those there. The best picks are Arcana and Stealth. Equipment stuff, I'm not going to read it, but here it is. I showed it on the screen. Here is the progression. The class doesn't look beginner-friendly at first, but once you get the general idea of what's going on here, it will be a lot easier to play and understand. The seals here are your smites. They can be used for other things as well as you progress. You can sort of look at them as like a battle master maneuver, which is a little bit more accurate, but even there, it's not exactly that. It's a mostly general resource pool, I guess. It's a short rest resource. They scale better than battle master resource-wise, but it doesn't have the versatility of one. Well, it depends on what you're playing and what you're doing. As for interdicted boons, they're straight up Eldritch Invocations. They're sadly not as interesting and versatile as Warlocks, though. And you don't get that many choices, which really sucks. You cap out at 4, which is barely anything. But I do love the customization in the base class. Features like that don't exist for martials besides picking subclasses or a feat. I've always wanted a martial to be as complex as a spell list, and this is heading towards the right direction. The problem is, I don't think they went far enough. But whatever. As for the Infernal Conduit, that's a long rest resource you get at level 6 that scales like crazy when it comes to resources. But in terms of power, it's very tame. They're all D10s and it never scales in damage, but you can blow everything all at once, so there's that. It's an action use and has a touch of range. That's literally everything about it. There's only one feature that upgrades Infernal Conduit, surprisingly. It's in the Combat Mastery. All it does is increase the range to 30 feet instead of touch. We'll talk about this feature later. So yeah, it's not complicated if you're familiar with base 5e classes or played Baldur's Gate 3. Now let's dive into the actual features. First one is Baleful Interdict. By Tiamat's tits, that's a whole page! Yeah, this is basically 3 features in 1 feature, so this is a bit of a heavy read. It doesn't have the same writing or structure as 5e, but it's not that complex. You place a single seal on a creature within 30 feet of you once per turn, either by hitting a creature with an attack or using a bonus action normally. That's a very short range, 30 feet. It's not like Hunter's Mark where you get 90. A seal placed on a creature lingers for 1 minute. The seals can stack on a creature, but you can't place all the seals you have on them immediately on the first round in Nova Hard. It's just once per turn, unfortunately, but applying them is really easy. Burning a seal is 1d6 fire or necrotic damage 1 time and then it vanishes. To trigger this burn, the creature needs to take damage from something like an attack. If you have 2 lingering seals on a creature, for example, and then you burn it, then it's 2d6 damage, and so on. You can absolutely place a seal and then burn it at the same time, which I absolutely recommend you do. I don't recommend making the seals linger unless there's a special feature that does something while it lingers. Right now, it doesn't do anything. So what's even the point? Why can I do this so early? To me, the lingering is a dead feature unless you use the bag of rats technique, which is frowned upon though. How that works is you cast all the seals on a rat, and then you kill the rat on your turn to move all the seals you placed on it as a bonus action over to the enemy. I highly doubt MCDM approves of that. But anyways, right now the lingering makes the feature look so heavy in the writing for no reason. There's no mechanical benefit for it right now. And when there is, that's a very small niche. I say just do damage now instead of damage later, it's just better. Treat this like a smite. It doesn't need to be complicated at level 1. You do that in the progression when you finally get a mechanical benefit. It's so weird for me to say this. I mean, like, I'm criticizing MCDM for game design. I'm just a kobold. But anyways, right now it's not very powerful on its own. It's not good Nova. It's worse than Hex and Hunter's Mark, which aren't Nova. But it does have an easier setup than them. I really love the triggers for expending and burning the seals a lot. And they do combine well with spells like Hex and Hunter's Mark as well. It complements them. Look at that, I sound like a Redditor. Obviously, I want this to be a proper Nova though. From the damage progression, it doesn't look like it gets there. But in the base class, you will get a way to Nova properly at level 13. And some of the subclasses at level 3 get to Nova hard too. Multi-class dip-wise for level 1, this class is pretty good because you get medium armor and shield proficiency, proficiency in con saves, and Baleful Interdict being easy to apply with that trigger. But the fighter dip still has an edge over this because using Second Wind before taking a short rest will aid you more in a brutal adventuring day. And archery, 2-weapon fighting, or defense fighting styles provide quite a lot. Archery is especially insane for your DPR, and of course sharpshooter if you're using 2014 content. Power attacks is sick. I really miss it. Anyways, we gotta move on. Forked Tongue lets you speak, read, and write Infernal, and you can speak 2 other languages. You can replace these languages on a long rest, which is pretty good in some games. Then at level 9, it scales up to 3 language picks, and you get advantage on insight checks against creatures with devious intent. Oh my. That was first level. Now let's move on to second level. Combat Mastery comes with options. They're kinda like fighting style. First up is Bravado. It's one of those while naked features. It sucks. You have medium armor and shield proficiency already. But to be fair to Bravado, it might be good if you rolled really good stats. Brutal. When you hit a creature who is no more than 1 size larger than you with an attack you make with a melee weapon you are wielding with 2 hands, you can move the target 5 feet horizontally. If you choose, you can then spend your movements to move into the space they left. The move into the space they left is very interesting. That could be handy at doorways, but it's unlikely. This feature can be really good if you combine it with Crusher Feet and Booming Blade with Repelling Blast if you're playing 2024 content. There's a lot of fun things here. This works with Polearm with Reach. You can trigger it multiple times with Extra Attack or Bonus Action Polearm Master. Even the Opportunity Attack from Polearm Master can trigger this. I really like this feature. I wish it was in the base game. Inexorable. +1 to saves for each hostile creature within 5 feet of you, to a maximum of +5. The deadliest effects or spells that force a saving throw are usually opened at the beginning of the fight. I don't think this is a good feature. Its power is very swingy, and even if there's tons of enemies around you, they might not force you to make any saves. It's best to look for features that happen all the time. Lie. You can modify one of your melee weapons into a weapon that uses your charisma mod instead of your strength or dexterity for both attack and damage rolls. And of course, you can swap it out with a different melee weapon when you finish a long rest. This is the classic Gish feature. If you're playing the caster subclass and you go into melee often, then I absolutely recommend this. As for the other subclasses, some of them do have features that force saves. So if you want to lean heavily on those features, then picking this isn't a bad idea. This makes it so that you're not multiple ability score dependent. Lissom. When you hit a creature with a melee weapon attack, you can spend your movements to move 5 feet without provoking opportunity attacks. This is more reliable than Brutal with less limitations, but pushing creatures is more effective. And sadly, this doesn't trigger on a mess. So I don't think this is very good. Unfettered. When you use your Baleful Interdict to place or burn a seal, its range is 60 feet instead of 30 feet. When you gain the Infernal Conduit feature at level 6, its range is 30 feet instead of touch. In addition, making a ranged attack while within 5 feet of a hostile creature does not impose disadvantage on attack rolls. This is an auto pick for me. I highly take into consideration damage dealt versus damage taken, which makes range really important. This will greatly help with mount skirmishing. It's bewildering to me why they gave this feature 3 features in 1 feature compared to the others. And this also gets the best features too. Doubling range and also making Infernal Conduit much better. Hell yeah, I'm picking this. I'm guessing in the playtest no one picked this, so they just boosted it to oblivion. By the way, this is the only feature that boosts Infernal Conduit. We'll get there eventually. The next main feature is the invocations called Interdicted Boons. Right now you get 1. Whenever you gain a level, you can swap out a boon. First boon is a Baiting Seal. When a creature you can see damages you or an ally within 30 feet of you, You can expend a seal as a reaction to reduce the damage taken by the target by an amount equal to 1d10 plus half your Illrigger level. The scaling is pretty bad, but well, it's good if you don't have a reactive defense, you know? And right now at level 2, this is where it's at its absolute best, so I do recommend picking this up and then swapping it out later. Bedevil. When you burn a seal, the target gets a penalty to their next save equal to your PB before the end of their next turn. Very useful. You're helping your team set up spells. It sadly doesn't make spread damage good though, because placing a seal is still once per turn. But I love this feature, it's a teamwork feature. It's an instant pick as soon as the party gets second level spells. Soul Eater, when you burn a seal, you get temp HP equal to your Illrigger level. This is worse than a baiting seal, ignore. Strix Apathy, when you burn a seal, you can use a reaction to remove their reaction until the end of their next turn. This would be really good if you could burn the seal anytime without needing you or somebody else to do damage to the creature, because removing the enemy spellcaster's reaction is fantastic. That way everyone can easily focus fire, nova, and cast spells without needing to worry about the enemy casting shield or counterspell or whatever reaction they have. The problem right now is attempting to trigger the burn will most likely trigger the reaction first. So this sucks. Swift Retribution. This is a lingering effect while the seal is on a creature. It sucks. When a creature provokes an opportunity attack, you can attack for free instead of using a reaction. I'm sure you can do something interesting with Polar Master and Sentinel, but that is such a meme. The most disappointing thing about Illrigger is the lingering effect. They barely do anything with it, and it doesn't get good until level 13. I don't understand why they give you this unique mechanic and don't want to do anything with it. Right now you're just stacking 1d6s at a time, which is really silly. This could have just been a normal smite, and then you introduce this lingering effect in a subclass or later on in the progression. Anyways, that's all the boons for now. We'll come back at level 7. Level 3, you pick your subclass, and you get to invoke Hell, which has something to do with the subclasses. It's awful that this is part of the base features instead of the subclasses, because some players have forgotten that this is a once per short rest resource for their subclass. And it's annoying to jump to 2 different places just to figure out what one feature does. And all the title names for Invoke Hell features are all the same. Every single one of them is called Invoke Hell. If you're not familiar with Illrigger, that's really confusing. It's so bad how they did this. Like, how the hell did this pass? But whatever, the Invoke Hell options are usually like really strong. They're usually the ones that let you early Nova. And that's exactly what I want in the Marshal. So I'm not going to complain about it that much. But I'm telling you right now, if I was the DM and I was not familiar with Illrigger, and a player used, for example, Honey Sweet Blade. Like right here, when I read this feature, I'm like, oh my god, this only costs a seal. What is going on here? But no, that's not true. I have to go to the other Invoke Hell fucking feature to figure out what the actual fucking resource is. That would obviously piss me off. I wouldn't just be mad at the player, but also the third-party professional brew here. Imagine writing down here, once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. And if a feature has like a saving throw thing, then you just put that in as well. Now, let me be clear, this is the only thing they like really messed up. And I really don't understand why this wasn't reported in the playtest. Like, hey guys, why is there 6 features named the exact same thing? Why is the resource and the DC not in the actual feature? Well, whatever. I said I wouldn't complain about it that much, so we're gonna move on. Number of seals scale up, by the way, at level 3. You now have 4 of them. At level 4, ASI. The ASI progression is the same as all the others. It doesn't have the fighter edge, so it will be pretty feat-starved in 2024. So be warned, that's actually pretty bad. Level 5, extra attack, and the seal damage scales up. It's closer to Divine Smite damage now. It's not there yet, but it's pretty close. Level 6, Infernal Conduit. I'm going to repeat what I said at the start. It's a long rest resource that scales like crazy when it comes to resources, but in terms of power, it's very tame. They're all D10s, and it never scales in dice or damage, but you can blow everything at once, so there's that. It's an action use and has a touch of range. There's only one feature that upgrades Infernal Conduit, which is the Unfettered Combat Mastery. We looked at that before. It was the best combat mastery. It increases the touch to 30 feet. There's only two things you can do with Infernal Conduit. You can heal someone, which is the most expensive option, because not only does it cost your dice, but it also costs your own hit points. So this option is garbage unless somebody's actually gonna die and I have to do something. The other option is okay. You force a con save, and if they fail, the target takes necrotic damage equal to the total you rolled, and you regain HP equal to that total. It also deals half damage on a success, and you get half the regain, which is actually amazing for a fail. I've only seen something like that once, but it's not enough to make this feature good. If you blow everything immediately at this level, that's 12.37 average damage. Your normal attacks should be better than this. It's like at least 15 DPR. So this feature isn't that good in both heal and damage. And even though it scales like crazy, it's just not enough. A fighter attacking normally and then using Second Wind is just better on average in 2024. And Second Wind is a short rest resource. This feature here is an action use and a long rest resource. Now sure, you got your bonus action, you can apply a seal, and that's a little bit more damage, but a fighter just doing their fighter thing normally on that specific round is just doing more than you. Next, level 7, we get a subclass feature. Infernal Conduit dice, scaled up, and we get a boon. Let's look at the new boons. Acheron's Chain. When you use a bonus action to place or move a seal on a large or smaller creature, you can force a strength save. On a fail, you either pull the creature 10 feet towards you, or cause them to be grappled until the start of your next turn. The escape DC should not be in brackets, but anyways, this is easy single target control with grapple that easily complements your seal usage. You're regularly burning them anyways. The bonus action interaction will be a bit difficult if you're using a hand crossbow in 2014, but in 2024 content it's not a problem at all. This is a good one, and it gives you and your friends advantage as well, which is a significant damage increase for everyone. Conflagrant Channel. Expend a seal to bonus action teleport 60 feet. Compared to Misty Step, this is double the range. I'm not a Misty Step enjoyer, but this being a short rest resource and it having 60 feet memes on a lot of enemies. This is great for a Mongolian playstyle. Eyes of the Gate. This is kinda like 2024 Gaze of Two Minds, but not as broken. As an action, you can expend one or more seals to bind your awareness to a creature within 60 feet of you. They must make a wisdom save, or they can willingly fail. On a fail, you are bound to the target's awareness for a number of hours equal to the number of seals you expended. While the creature is within 300 feet of you, you can use an action to see and hear through their senses. When you do this, you're not using your own senses. Additionally, you can place seals, burn them, and use interdicted boons, as if you're in the creature space. Being 300 feet away is crazy. There's a lot of utility with this, like spying comes to mind. If you do this hidden on some random person heading to a meeting or whatever, even if they succeed against a save, they have no idea that you tried to bind them. They only become aware if they see you place a seal after failure from their space, and can take an action to make a repeat save. It's very easy to not get caught, and this lasts a super long time. If you blow everything, that's 5 hours. You can probably short rest and gaze at the same time. I wouldn't be surprised. This is a super strong tool, but it's not good for sniping or anything. You're not like a warlock where you can cast spells or Eldritch Blast from the creature space. I would pick this if I got more boons, but I'm very starved of them. You barely get any. Next, Shadow Shroud. This is no concentration Shield of Faith for 1 minute, and it has a range of touch for some reason. Still really good. If you're stacking a bunch of AC like Shield of Faith before going into a dungeon or whatever, then in combat you cast this on yourself and you'll have +4 AC right there. And maybe you can also have the shield spell as a reaction on top of that for +9 AC. That's a big deal. If you go into melee or you get targeted a lot, then this is an instant pick. Unleash Hell. When you burn, you can use a reaction to cause each creature of your choice within 5 feet of the burned target to make a dex save. On a fail, they take the same damage as the burn itself, half damage on a success. A martial feature that does AoE damage is very rare. I usually rate these super high because they need features like these so badly to compete with emanations like Spirit Guardians. This is obviously nowhere close when it's currently just 2d6 and an emanation of 5 feet. But if you get 3 creatures consistently in the AoE, which I don't really think will happen, that could be a significant total damage done. I really don't think this boon is worth it because of how starved of boons you are. It simply isn't big or powerful enough. Vengeful Shot. When a creature makes a ranged attack against you or an ally within 30 feet of you, you can expend a seal as a reaction to make a ranged attack against the attacker. If hit, you deal extra damage equal to your Illrigger level. This sucks. It's only 30 feet and it's not that consistent. Level 9. Forked Tongue improves. I talked about that before. Also, your Infernal Conduit dice increased to 5. Level 10. Blood Price. You can spend 1 hit dice and add that to a failed save, which is insanely good when it's a D10, and saves at these levels can shut you down, so I think it's absolutely worth it. But be careful with long adventuring days though. Keep in mind, if you run out of hit dice, you can't regain HP back on a short rest. Level 11, you get a subclass feature. And your Infernal Conduit's Devour can now give creatures exhaustion, which is an amazing buff. Weirdly though, there's a limit where the max exhaustion you can reduce a creature is only 3. This is unnecessary because majority of single targets, especially at this level, don't survive 4 or 5 rounds. And that's even with like legendary resistance and stuff. And also, this forces a con save, which has like a 50% chance of landing. There's no way you'll be able to kill somebody with that feature alone. And if you do, it's like, oh wow, a single creature. Congratulations. That took a very long time. You also get Terrorizing Force, which lets you do an extra 1d8 damage per swing. You get to pick the damage type of cold, fire, necrotic, or poison. Necrotic and cold are the least resisted or immune. It's nice that there's a damage increase here, because damage is needed desperately here. But sadly, this isn't as strong as an extra attack. Also, by the way, the seal damage finally does more damage than the first level Divine Smite. Yippee! That took forever. Level 13, number of seals and Infernal Conduit scales up. And you get a boon. Let's read the new boons. This is Onslaught. Every time you use a bonus action to move or place a seal, you can make 1 weapon attack as part of the same bonus action. That's fantastic, especially with big melee weapons or ranged weapons in general. This is a significant damage increase. We're better than fighters now for sure. This is an instant pick. Also keep in mind, this also complements other boons as well. You can only activate 1 non-passive boon per turn, and this is a passive. That's really important to know. Flash of Brimstone. When you place a seal, you can just teleport to melee range. You can also put a seal on your friends as well to teleport over to them. Just don't burn the seal on them, of course. The problem we really have here is we just don't get enough boons for this to be worth it. Hellish Frenzy. When you start your turn within 30 feet of an interdicted creature, you know, you have a seal on them, you can expend another seal to become frenzied until the start of your next turn. Your movement speed doubles, you have +2 AC, and you can make an extra weapon attack when you take the attack action. This is a better, shorter haste. When you do this, you can still place a seal through Baleful Interdict to get more out of the damage. And if you have Onslaught, that's another attack. You're doing 4 attacks and 2 seals can burn with a 2-round setup. I really hate 2-round setups like this, but it's really powerful. I really should do the math for it, but I don't have the time to make a build. Maybe I'll do that in the future if this video really pops off. But I don't know. Third-party brews have never been popular on YouTube. Anyways, if I ever play this, I would swap out my 7th level boon to this Onslaught immediately. And also grab this. I want to be the best at my main job. This and this Onslaught are instant picks. Be warned though, you currently have 6 seals, and if you do this setup, you're blowing 3 seals. Luckily, this is a short rest resource. Anyways, next is Hellsight. Expend a seal as an action to gain true sight of 60 feet for an hour. Bad. Impaling Shot. When you hit with a ranged attack, you can expend a seal as a bonus action to give the enemy a AC penalty equal to your PB. This This lasts until the end of your next turn. You can help the party with easier Nova setup, but that's silly because having more people focus fire with Nova is just better. That will be more damage on average, and that's also accounting for accuracy. But the more that I think about it, in general, you suck at the first round Nova anyways. And this can help on the way to the second round Nova. That's actually good. You don't have to burn a seal to use this. The power really depends on the party. You would have to do a DPR calculation on them. Iron Goal. Spend 4 seals as an action to send someone to hell for 1 minute. If the challenge rating is 4 or lower, they stay there. This is super fun. It's a charisma save. In downtime, this is really funny. Just send a bunch of people you don't like to hell. But memes aside, it sucks. It's too expensive. And it's save or nothing happens with a repeat save. Last word, when you reduce to 0 and have unplaced seals remaining, you can expend up to 3 seals to cause a 30-foot AoE explosion around you that forces a dex save. Each seal expended does 3d6 damage. The explosion causes half damage. You regain HP equal to the total you rolled if the damage hurts someone. This causes friendly fire, by the way. I think if you're about to die, it's because you ran out of resources. But I gotta say, this is huge and does a lot of damage. If you expend 3 seals, that's 96 damage. That's like 31.5 average. And if you have all your resources, you can do this like several times. You can treat this like a stacking death ward. In the script, I had a lot to say about this. I thought it was fascinating. But it's all just memes, and also one of them gets me demonetized. So I'm just gonna say this. It sucks if your party is good at your jobs. Your job is not to turn yourself into a fireball, you know? Your job is to be good at killing or dealing single target damage. Last boon, Soul's Doom. When you use a bonus action to place a seal, for that minute, whenever the creature takes damage, they take extra damage equal to your PB. Even though it's lingering, it's not a passive, so this does complement Frenzy Onslaught's setup combo. I would swap my second level boon to this. It's going to help my DPR and Nova significantly. Now, level 14. Your seals ignore any damage resistance, and as a bonus action, if you have no seals left, you can regain 1 seal, once per long rest. It's not much of an upgrade, but I'll take it. Level 17. Your Infernal Conduit scales up, and you get a transformation bonus action feature that lasts 10 minutes. You get resistance to fire, cold, and necrotic. You get 60-foot flight. When you use Blood Price for save protection, the hit dice you rolled also deals damage to a creature within 10 feet of you. And the Terrorize Force feature, which you got at level 11, now deals 2d8 damage instead of 1d8. Obviously, everything here is really good. But here's the special thing. If you die in this form, you get sent to hell, and for 1d6 days, your body reforms and eventually you come back to life. When you come back, you're still trapped in hell somewhere, and you have no way to plane shift. And you can still be destroyed in hell while your body reforms. But I don't want to talk too much about that because I have no idea how your DM runs hell. I imagine they're going to be really mean to you because, well, you're in hell. But anyways, depending on the game and how they run hell, you are immortal. And if you are immortal and have an easy way to get out of hell with plane shift from your party members or whatever, then you're gonna win the game. Your caster friends with plane shift and commune and stuff can easily find your body and get you safely out of hell. And you can reform safely somewhere else outside of hell. This is an amazing feature. You're better than half-casters and marshals. Congratulations. At level 18, you get your last boon. Your number of seals scale up too, and Infernal Conduit scales up at level 19. If you're playing 2024 content, you should probably ask your DM to brew an epic boon, because you don't get one. And finally, Capstone. Seal damage scales up to 4d6, and you get Master of Hell. As an action, you can summon a Hellstorm within 150 feet of you. It's a 50-foot radius sphere. That's a really big AoE. You have 3 options. Inferno lets you rain Hellfire, which is kind of like Meteor Swarm, but weaker, with 5d10s rather than 20d10s. And it makes creatures burn for 1 minute if they fail the save. It also does half damage. A creature burning gets a repeat save to remove the effect. While they burn, burn, they take 1d10 fire damage, plus 1d10 necrotic damage every round. I wish this just was Meteor Swarm, because I want to do a ton of damage right now. Pestilence is similar, but forces a con save and does poison and necrotic damage instead. It also poisons a creature for 1 minute. The good news is there's no repeat save, so this might be beneficial to use, but it's unfortunate that it's a con save, especially at this level. And finally, Darkness. Again, similar. Con save just does 10d10 cold damage, half damage. Creatures in darkness are automatically blinded until they leave the area. There's no difficult terrain or anything like that, sadly. I don't know why they called it darkness when it's a bitter storm. If you're on the outside, you can see through it. Creatures in it are blinded. This is the best one to combo with casters with, because the blinding thing is automatic. But I think overall, you'll be using the Infernal the most. This is a great capstone. I do feel like they held back a little bit, but I shouldn't be complaining. Base class alone, this was quite a heavy read, which isn't a bad thing necessarily, especially if you have lots of options, which this absolutely provides, and it's all understandable. But I wouldn't say this is well written though, because there's so much unnecessary mechanical fat, like the lingering effect for Baleful Interdict. And then there's the big mess with Invoke Hell. But back to Baleful Interdict. Burning the seals is the main gameplay loop, which they point out. And it's like, okay, why isn't the entire Baleful Interdict the main gameplay loop? If burning is the main gameplay loop, then you should have just made it a regular smite and up the damage. Marshals don't necessarily need to be complicated. They just need to be good at their job and have lots of options. They got the options thing right, which was very enjoyable. I finally got a complex marshal, and this absolutely delivered. But the designers and the playtesters seem to value setup more than damage right now, like proper Nova, which is a very common view, like way back in the day, and Reddit still goes crazy over it. They view power very differently from me. That's why there's a lingering effect for Baleful Interdict at level 1. Anyways, I want to see the Halfcaster. Someone told me this is the best subclass, so here we go. It's called the Architect of Ruin. They call it a third caster. All subclasses have oaths, by the way, but this is just flavor text. There's no penalty for breaking these. Your DM might brew something, but I don't know. Talk to your DM. I don't care about oaths. Asmodeus Blessing, gain proficiency in one of the following skills. Arcana is an instant pick for crafting scrolls, which you can do when you're a third caster. You can also read and write languages, granted from the Forked Tongue feature. Before I move on to the second feature, I need to explain what Invoke Hell does. I guess you can look at them as a Channel Divinity feature. You can only use it once per short rest. Each subclass gives 2 Invoke Hell options. The first one is Innovating Spell. When you deal damage with a first level spell or higher, you can expend a seal to make the target vulnerable to the spell's damage. Resistance or immunity doesn't matter. This will be useful for stuff like Fireball, which, wait, they don't get Fireball, huh? It's a Hell Knight. Thankfully, they do get spells that are similar to Hunger of Adar and long-lasting AoE damage spells. Speaking of, this feature doesn't say if it lasts for the whole duration of the spell or not, and this can be triggered anytime the spell is active. The trigger is just deal damage to a creature with an Illrigger spell. I'm gonna assume that it lasts for the whole duration of the spell, which is pretty crazy, but it doesn't become crazy until level 17, when you get 3rd level spells. Level 13 is the magic number for this class. We'll talk more about this later in the spells. The other Invoke Hell option is Spellblade. You can use an action to both make a melee weapon attack and cast an Illrigger spell you know that has a casting time of 1 action. That's going to be awesome with command too, to potentially get a reaction attack off from you and your friends. You use the flee command. Link in the description for more details. Power wise, this is going to surpass Fighter, and it's going after the Halfcasters. The proper Halfcasters have better spell progression though, like Paladin gets Fine Steed at level 5, and as soon as you get 2nd level spells, the Paladins will have the auras, so I'm not convinced that you're better besides maybe damage itself. Now for the best part. Spellcasting. It's the same progression as an Eldritch Knight, but you get cantrips as well, and your spell list is completely unique, with even brand new spells. Here they are. By the way, full casters and half casters also have access access to these new spells. None of these are Illrigger exclusive. Kobold, are we gonna go through everything? Yes, I wanted a half-caster originally, but I got a stupid marshal instead. So strap yourselves in, it's gonna be a long one. Hellfire is a charisma save cantrip with 120 foot range. The damage is better than Ray of Frost. It's a decent pick. Vengeful Blade is amazing. It functions kinda like Booming Blade, except it triggers when the target attacks or casts a spell instead of moving. Extra attack is still better because of more swings and it doesn't force you into melee, but this is an instant pick. I'm so happy early power is here. When I read the base, I was super worried. By the way, you get that war magic feature at level 7 that functions like Eldritch Knight. So this is really good. I'm so happy. Your cantrip options are incredible. First level spell list. The only new one is Hell's Lash. It's a single target concentration action cast 30-foot con save spell that does 44 fire damage. That also does 2d4 fire damage over 1 minute with the repeat save. If you have a seal on the creature and this spell is active, you can burn the seal to give them disadvantage on the next save. But that disadvantage doesn't last for the whole duration of the spell. This spell sucks, and so does boosting it. As for the first level spell list itself, there's some really good ones like Command, Shield, and Shield of Faith are the best. Shield of Faith will probably be your go-to concentration spell because it lasts 10 minutes. Second level spells. The new spell is Infernal Challenge. It's the same as Compelled Duel spell, except you're forcing a charisma save. It gives you +2 AC, and it has some shutdown potential, but that's another save. The thing with tanking is I want an AoE taunt to get everyone to attack me. This is just a single creature. It's in a good direction though, but it's not enough to satisfy me. The second level spell list here is terrible. All I really care about is suggestion and mirror image, if we're playing 2024 content. But I gotta say, Heat Metal is an incredibly powerful pick for this Illrigger because you can make the target vulnerable to it. Keep in mind, this spell automatically applies and does damage immediately. If they're wearing metal armor, then who cares if they're making the save or not? Or even what the damage is. They're gonna die. With that vulnerability feature, you're making them die double as fast without needing to upcast. Kobold, he can't cook and book anymore. Yeah, default killing with that spell is harder. Anyways, third level spells. Here's the Hunger of Adar I was talking about. It's actually stronger too. It's called Moat of Hell. It's weirdly written. There's a 15-foot sphere of darkness, and 30 foot from it you can hear noises. This is magical darkness where not even magic can light it up. But the thing is, they wrote cloud, not darkness. I'm gonna assume they mean darkness. And any creature fully within the area are blinded. Now the question is, if the creature is within 30 feet of it, is that fully in the spell's area? I would say so. But I think they mean in the darkness itself. The darkness, yeah, I know they wrote cloud again, causes difficult terrain, and when a creature starts its turn there, they take automatic 3d6 fire damage. If they end their turn there, they must make a wisdom save. On a fail, 3d6 psychic damage. It's a little smaller than Hunger of Adar, but does more damage. This is absolutely where you use your vulnerability feature to make the AoE much more deadlier. This is an instant pick. It's really dumb that the Hell Knight doesn't get Fireball. But there are incredible picks here, like Phantom Steed is an instant pick. Then there's Fear, Fly, and Revivify. Why does this get Revivify? That doesn't make any sense. Fourth level spells, there's 3 new ones. Aura of Desecration is an instant pick. Action cast that lasts 10 minutes. It's a 30-foot Emanation Spear Guardians. That's double the size and it does 46 necrotic damage with a con save, but who cares? Half damage does majority of the work in damage, and this is an ongoing AoE. It also prevents creatures from regaining HP until the start of their next turn on a failed save. You can make arguments why Spirit Guardians is better, but overall, this is just insane. The aura is massive. Look how ridiculous it is on a battle map. How the hell did this pass? It's super broken. You're gonna get everyone in that AoE. Hell yeah, I'm picking this. It does 10.5 DPR, which is 0.3 DPR behind 3rd level Spirit Guardians. That might not sound like a lot for level 17, but remember your vulnerability feature. That's double the DPR, so 21. And then you've got your attacks and all that. It's all gonna stack up to a lot of total damage. There's no way this weapon spell is gonna keep up. Oh look, it immediately griefs your party by extinguishing light in a 30-foot radius. It does an extra 2d6 damage, ending the spell causes a burst. Yeah, whatever, I don't care. This really sucks. The other spell is Wall of Death. It's a weaker Wall of Fire because it's a con save, and it does 48 damage instead of 5d8. But what's interesting is you can use a reaction to give temp HP equal to the damage dealt. Wall of Fire is better. I don't think taking the reaction is worth doing most of the time, unless you're super safe behind full cover and stuff. You can make zigzags with this to thicken the line and give gaps. That way the damage can potentially trigger multiple times. As for the whole 4th level spell list, the Aura is the best one by far. Other good picks are Banishment, Death Ward, Dimension Door, and Wall of Death. This is a very good subclass. Is it broken? Nah. We want to keep up with the full casters, and this is an okay attempt. Well, not really. These are not exclusive spells, though. If you allow an Illrigger at the table, and these spells are allowed, then it's going to boost the casters more than the Illrigger. The 2nd level spell list for Illrigger is terrible. And also there's no Fireball, but whatever. There are some amazing options here. But it's going to take you forever to get them. Again, the magic number is 13. Back to normal features. 7th level. We already talked about this one. It's the War Magic feature. Next, Asmodeus Interdiction. This gives you additional boons for free. They don't count as boons known. Every subclass gets these. The 7th level boon here is a passive. When you burn a seal, you can add your Charisma mod to the damage. That's great. I expect a lot of people to pick up Lai's Combat Mastery to make their melee weapons use Charisma mod for attack and damage. And I don't blame them. This is sick. Level 13, Spellbreaker. When an interdicted creature you see within 60 feet of you casts a spell, you can use a reaction to burn one or more of the seals on them. When you do, burning the seal deals no damage, and instead you cast Counterspell on them without expending a spell slot. Your spell's level increases by 1 for every additional seal you burn after the first. Counterspell is not that good in 2024, but it is in 2014. It's not your job to counterspell really, but I gotta say, this is the cheapest counterspell I've ever seen. And this ignores the 1 spell slot per turn rule, so it's gonna be really easy to counterspell enemy shield and stuff, which is what you should absolutely do. Level 18, Hellmage, another passive. When you or a friend within 30 feet of you succeed on a save against a spell or other magical effect, you can immediately place 1 or more seals on the enemy up to your proficiency bonus. I expect you to place everything because casters are the most dangerous enemies in the whole game, and they need to die as fast as possible. I was DMing with 2024 mages, I had 2 of them. They're CR 6, and with these 2 mages, I almost managed to TPK an 8th level party. There was 6 of them. So yeah, don't underestimate them. Kill them as quickly as possible. Focus fire. They're so dangerous. Back to normal features. Submit at level 11. When you cast an Illrigger spell you can burn 2 seals on an interdicted creature, no action required, to impose disadvantage on their saving throw against the spell. It's too expensive. It's a 2-round setup and it's single targets. You might be able to do something interesting with suggestion or command, but nah. You should Nova. Level 15, Capstone. You get 2 features. Regaining seal, bonus action to expend 1 spell slot to regain a number of seals equal to that slot's level. And the other feature is regaining spell slots. It's the reverse order. Turning seals into slots is more important because the shield spell provides so much protection, but it's expensive though. You can ask your party to short rest multiple times, but I don't think you'll be able to convince them at this level. You're not as powerful as like a warlock. You're a third caster. Nobody cares about your spell slots. This subclass is amazing, and it's loaded with tons of things. But then again, everything here is loaded. I gotta say, like, I've never seen so many features in a subclass before. If I were to play an Illrigger, this is the one I would play. I don't care about the other ones, but I have to read them anyways. So here we go. Page 16 of my script. Hellspeaker. The guy in the picture reminds me of Meshuggah. The Obson album sounds like someone is trying to kill you. It's one of the craziest albums I've ever heard. Oh no! Kubal! This subclass has content warning! You might get triggered! Oh no, the content is like suggestion spell. Anyways, here are the oaths, whatever. Moloch's Blessing, proficiency in either persuasion or deception. If you pick a skill you're already proficient in, the bonus doubles as if you had expertise in it. You also get an extra language, and when you speak through the forked tongue feature, you have advantage on charisma checks to influence creatures. 99% of the time, failing these checks is not going to kill you or your party. So I don't really view this as like a big deal. But it's nice to have. 2 invoke hell options. Honey Sweet Blades. You make a weapon attack against a creature that has a seal on them without taking any actions. When you do, you have advantage against the creature, and on a hit, you crit. Nice! That's an 88% chance most of the time, and this is a short rest resource. So I recommend you Nova away. You can also do this off your turn, funnily enough. So if you have rogue levels, this is an easy way to off-turn sneak attack. And that also becomes a crit. Turncoats. Choose a number of creatures up to your proficiency within 60 feet. Each of them make a charisma save. On a fail, they have to use their reaction to make a weapon attack against a single target of your choice. A creature affected can't attack themselves. Depending on the encounter, this can be really good. Like giants come to mind. They do a lot of damage with single attacks. So what you should generally look for is large or larger creatures. But 90% of the time, you will be using the Honey Blades. I almost skipped Charmed Enemy while recording. I was so scared. This is the content warning feature. When you use your bonus action to place a seal on a humanoid, you can force a charisma save. On a fail, the creature is charmed by you for 1 hour, or until you or your friends harm them. The thing with charmed is, sure, they can't attack you, but they can still attack your friends. So this feature is crap. Also, this feature can be 3 sentences long and didn't need a content warning. I'm not against content warnings or anything, but it's really silly that it's here. Level 7, Moloch's Interdiction. These are boons you automatically learn just like the previous subclass. You get Red Cant immediately. When you make a charisma check, you can expend a seal to treat a d20 roll of a 9 or lower as a 10. Sadly, saving throws isn't included, but still in a diplomatic scene, this is absolutely worth using. Short rest resource makes this an easy choice. Level 13, you get Slippery Ploy. When a creature targets you with an attack, spell, or other magical effect, you can place a seal on them as a reaction and force a charisma save. On a fail, the creature must choose a new target or lose the attack or effect. This doesn't work for AoEs, by the way. It's okay. It's a quicker way to get seals on the enemies. Level 18, Incontrovertible. It's a passive. Creatures that have a seal on them have disadvantage on wisdom and charisma saving throws. Your caster friends are gonna love you. Big single target bosses become a lot more important here, so this will do a lot for your party. Now back to regular features. Level 11, Intransigent. You get a 10-foot aura that makes everyone you choose be immune to charm. Charm isn't that dangerous unless it's like hypnotic pattern or something, but I'll take it with glee. The other feature lets you make a deal. As a bonus action, choose one willing ally within 60 feet who can hear you. Once within the next 10 minutes, the ally can choose to gain advantage on one attack or save, and they add your proficiency bonus to the roll. If this attack hits or the saving throw succeeds, the creature gains temporary hit points equal to your Illrigger level. If this attack misses or the saving throw fails, the creature has disadvantage on the next attack roll or saving throw they make. You can't cancel it out. This is a long rest resource equal to your proficiency bonus. It's kind of like super advantage. I would never use this for an attack unless it takes somebody completely out of the fight. But for saving throws, absolutely. Those are the ones that will shut you down at these levels. And this super advantage will give you like a 70 to 99% chance of success. The punishment for failure isn't that bad unless it's quickly followed up with another save on the same turn. But keep in mind, your allies' chance of failure is lower than their success. And maybe they have a feature that can add to their save like Divine Sorcerer has. I wouldn't worry about the failure. I think you should always make a deal with the devil. You're gambling with your life anyways, you're an adventurer. Capstone, quid pro quo. As an action, you can banish a creature to hell for 1 minute. It has a range of 30 feet. They have to make a charisma saving throw. While banished, they make a repeat save. Also while banished, a devil jurist or a horned devil appears in their original space, and they follow your command. This is a once per long rest feature. As soon as you get incontrovertible, this becomes a lot better. Overall, it's okay. The devils are high CR and bulky, so I'm very happy about that. I just wish they stuck around for longer. I guess you can buy a pet rat and send that to hell. That would actually make it an amazing capstone. Rats have -3 charisma, so that means the devil's gonna stay around for a very long time. And if it dies in hell, it can't make a repeat save.
Wouldn't that mean the devil is a permanent servant if the rat dies in hell?
Yes, that's what it says. Death doesn't end the feature. Making the save does. And this is not a creature anymore. I know nobody's gonna run it that way, but that's what it says. Anyways, this is a pretty tame class. It's okay. There's nothing really flashy here. Now for the next subclass.
He is the Painkiller. This is the Painkiller.
Yes, this is the Judas Priest subclass. And it's the actual Hell Knight. So concept-wise, this is starting off pretty strong. You get heavy armor proficiency. Now this next feature is actually devastating. It's the Devastator. As an action, you and up to your proficiency bonus number of allies can make a reaction attack. You can only do a weapon attack, but your friends can choose between a weapon attack or casting a damaging cantrip that has a casting time of an action. It's a once per short rest feature. This is an insane amount of damage. This is what I've been looking for in the Martial. And it's got teamwork cooked into the feature too, which is very rare for a Martial. You can help rogues get their off-turn sneak attack off, which will do a ton of damage. But anyways, this is one of the best Martial features I've ever seen for level 3 besides Echo Knight and Thief Rogue. And the scaling is okay until you hit level 9. That's when it scales pretty crazy. Anyways, as soon as you get this, 3 people are attacking at once. Then at endgame, there's 7 attacks. But be warned though, sometimes people will say no to the reaction, because if they attack with this, then they can't cast shield or absorb elements or whatever. So there is a risk with heavy focus fire. But that particular creature will most likely be gunned down dead or shut down by Eldritch Blast Push, Weapon Mastery Slow, Ray of Frost, and whatever. There's so many combinations here. I really like this feature for teamwork. Anyways, Invoke Hell. 2 options. Grand strategy. You can pick 1 or more creatures within 60 feet that can hear you, equal to your proficiency bonus. Each creature can immediately move up to half their speed without provoking opportunity attacks. This is badly written in 2 different ways. It doesn't say willing creature, so this works on enemies. The first sentence is technically flavor text, and it also mixes creatures and targets again. It's mid though. It's barely any movement unless your friends are on mounts or something. Punishment. When the creature hurts you with an attack, reaction force a save. On a fail, they take necrotic damage equal to the damage they dealt to you. It does half damage. I'll go for the Grand Strategist more. I don't really like features like these. Although they are better in 2024, so there's that. Next, the boon features. Telekinetic Seal. When a creature moves within 5 feet of you, you can place a seal on them and force a wisdom save to push them back 15 feet or knock them prone. prone. It really sucks that this is a save, but hey, it makes putting on a seal a little bit easier. Level 13, by the throat. When you use a bonus action to place or move a seal on a creature who is no more than one size larger than you, they must succeed on a wisdom save or be restrained until the end of their next turn. It's decent, I guess. I wish it lasted a bit longer, but whatever. Level 18, Despater Supremacy is a passive. When you hit a creature bearing a seal, you can crit on an 18. That's a 15% crit chance. With advantage, it's 28. This will make crit fishing easier, but you're not a 2014 paladin where you just decide to do a big smite when you crit anytime. You have to stack your seals, and that takes a few rounds in order to make this significant. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm a damage now rather than damage later type of kobold, so I don't think this is good. Finding the correct DPR for this is actually really annoying because lingering seals stacking changes the DPR so much. Back to normal subclass features. You die on my command, level 11. When an ally within 30 feet of you drops to 0 HP, you can use a reaction to give them 1 HP instead. It's a short rest feature. It's a worse death ward, but it's okay. Level 15, Death Strike. There's funny writing here. When you hit a creature, you can use a reaction to burn 1 seal on them to turn the hit into a crit. And the burning seal itself doubles the amount of damage it does. This is a long rest PB number of times feature. Keep in mind, the trigger for burning seals normally is just when a creature takes damage. So they can all go off together with this feature, which will stack up to a lot of Nova if you stack the seals up. But that takes a while. Because fights usually only last 4 rounds and the first 2 are the most important, I say try to blow everything immediately. That was the Painkiller. It's not for me. It's got things going for it, but I don't like the playstyle this encourages. It's too Reddit for me. I think it's okay. Next subclass, Sanguine Knight. There's another warning. Oh no, spooky blood in the murder game. Anyways, one of my DMs are currently playing this, so I have to be very nice. Now, the features. Exsanguinate. When you burn a seal or more, you can choose any ally within 30 feet and give them temp HP equal to the damage dealt by the seal. If the Bag of Rats tech is allowed, then this is very good. As intended, it's okay. I don't recommend stacking seals ever because your party will always take more damage than what you give in temp HP. So I recommend just burn, burn, burn. Sutek's Blessings. Proficiency in religion, and as an action, you can sense creatures who have blood within 120 feet of you, but is blocked by 1 foot of stone, 1 inch of common metal, and a tiny sheet of lead, or 3 feet of wood or dirt. PB Long Rest Resource is a ribbon feature. It's weird though, like if the enemy is wearing full plate armor, you can't sense them, but you can sense someone in mithril or adamantine armor. If I was your DM, I would let you detect through everything. Illrigger gets like next to no utility, so I don't see any harm in giving you Oblivion Vision. Invoke Hell, 2 options. Embolden allies. Bonus action, restore HP equal to 5 times your Illrigger level. Divide to whoever you choose between yourself and others within 30 feet. I wish the range was bigger, but this is insanely good for getting multiple creatures up from the ground, or just to dump a ton of HP into somebody. Eventually, this becomes stronger than the heal spell, and it's a short rest resource. So that's a really big deal. There's tons of uses for this. You should also think about when you're about to take a short rest, you can just cast this if you haven't used it already. I understand why my DM picked this for sure. Emboldening allies is the other hell feature. As a free action for 1 minute, each creature of your choice within 30 feet of you gain a bonus to their ability checks equal to your PB. There's no limit on how many creatures, it's okay. Now for boons, at level 7 you get Foul Interchange. Action, choose creatures within 30 feet and expend seal to end one of the following conditions. And then you force an enemy within 60 feet of you to make a con save. On a fail, they get the condition you removed. This only lasts until your next turn, which is lame. This is worse than Lesser Restoration because it's taking your action, not your bonus action. This is only worth doing if your important spellcaster friend is completely shut down by paralysis or something. Level 13 13, Sanguine Gift. When a creature within 30 feet heals, you can expend a seal to give them more HP equal to your Illrigger level. Not worth doing. Level 18, Blood for Blood. It's a passive. Whenever an ally takes damage from an interdicted creature, you know, an enemy bearing a seal, that interdicted creature takes necrotic damage equal to your proficiency bonus. It's below average. I don't recommend leaning heavily on it because it takes forever. But it will definitely help with the next feature we're going to talk about now. It's Bloodstroke. You get it at level 11. When an ally has temp HP from your 3rd level feature and are hit by a melee attack, the attacker takes cold, fire, or necrotic damage equal to your Illrigger level. It's Armor of Agathis to your party, which is very easy to spread around, especially if Bag of Rats is allowed. It's probably not, but anyways, good feature. My DM recently got this and he loves it. Now for Capstone, Hamel Exchange. When an interdicted creature within 60 feet of you makes an attack roll or save, you can use your reaction to burn a seal. The target must roll a d8 and subtract the number rolled from the attack or save. You then empower an ally within 30 feet of you. Next time they make an attack or save, they roll a d8 and add the number. It requires a reaction and a seal to already be on. For caster setups, this is good. And I'm sure you can stack this with Bedevil, so the enemy also subtracts 5 or 6 to their save. That way, they're almost guaranteed to fail the save. It's pretty good, but I don't think this is Capstone level of strength. I thought the subclass was a little boring. My DM might kill my mount now. But anyways, now for the last subclass, the Shadowmaster. Marked for death, you have advantage on your first attack against an interdicted creature on each of your turns. But that's not all. Strike from the Dark enhances that further. Once per turn when you hit an interdicted creature with a melee weapon attack, and you have advantage, you roll a number of d4s equal to your PB. The damage increases by 1d4 if the target is in dim light or darkness. This is melee only and once per turn. Dang, it's not that good. If you like sustained DPR, then this is the subclass you go for. You keep a seal lingering and you just keep whacking. You can stack Hex or Divine Favor on top of this, but at that point, I just recommend going the Halfcaster subclass instead. I'm so deep into this video now that I really don't feel like doing the proper DPR. But at a glance with these two features, I really don't think this is significant. Sustained DPR is kind of a meme. Next, Invoke Hell, 2 options. The first one is Cast Disguise Self. This really sucks. It's once, and then you need to take a short rest. And you are shut out of the other hell feature. The other hell feature is called No Escape. Bonus action, entrap a creature you can see within 30 feet. They must make a charisma save. They make that save with disadvantage if they are in dim light or darkness. On a fail, their speed is halved and they can't move more than 30 feet away from you. This lasts until you are incapacitated, die, or is more than 30 feet away from you. This is insanely hard to get rid of. I do like taunts in martials. But I wish this was an AoE and you were bulkier. It's below average, I would say. But I'm being very nice. Now for boons. Veil of Lies. Bonus action, expend a seal to become invisible for 10 minutes, or until you attack or cast a spell. Okay, this subclass sucks. Level 13 passive. When you roll a 1 or 2 on the burn roll or your weapon attacks against an interdicted creature, you can re-roll and must use a new roll. This is like a 2 to 3 DPR increase at best. It's garbage. Level 18, another passive. Interdicted creatures radiates darkness in a 10-foot radius. Creatures with dark vision can see through it. This can seriously grief your party, especially the casters, if they don't have the appropriate dark vision range, which they most likely don't have. Targeting with sight-based features and spells are going to be really annoying. Most people have like 0 to 60 or at best 120-foot dark vision, and at these levels, fights usually take advantage of the entire battlefield. The casters won't be able to solve this problem with a bullseye lantern either. They need like a Twilight Cleric if anything. This box here explains your potential power, but it's not thinking about the hindrance it causes to the party. Now sure, casters can just throw an AoE, but what if Mass Suggestion is the actual play? The Illrigger can't turn this off until someone does damage to the creature. That's really annoying. In small fights, this is not a big deal, but it is in important ones. Back to normal features. Level 11, Umbral Killer. You finally get dark vision if you don't have it. It sucks. The increased movement speed to 10 feet is good. The advantage on stealth is good. And no damage on a successful dex save and half damage on a fail is also really good. But really, I still don't think this is significant at all. And for Capstone, Doomed to the Shadows. Strike from the dark doubles in power, and when you deal damage with the feature, you can use a reaction to burn a seal on the creature to blind them for 1 minute instead of dealing damage. I haven't done the math to see if this is good or not, but on the surface, I'm not feeling it. And it mainly has to do with the progression road. It's miserable. This is a terrible subclass. Anyways, that was the Illrigger. I would definitely allow everything. I think it's pretty tame, and it's definitely a fun martial, for sure. I'm sure there's tons of things I missed, which is part of the fun, you know? End of video. Holy crap, what a long video. This took me like a month to make. Please like, comment, and subscribe for this. And donate to Patreon or become a member on YouTube. That way, it will make it a lot easier for me to make videos like these. And I don't need to rely on sponsorships so desperately. But of course, you should only do this if I earned your support. If you didn't like the video, then of course you should express that. Also, we still need followers on the Kobold and Gator Dice. That also helps us. And also, don't forget about Fume so you can become an Illrigger. Anyways, thank you for watching. Bye-bye!